Hey guys, welcome to Nifty World. I'm Vex, and in today's video, we're talking about building trust around your NFT. Now, if you are a creator, you're going to want to build your community, and you want to make sure that community trusts you and knows that you've got a game plan that works. So I'm going to be interviewing the amazing team behind the Fame Lady Squad, a huge, historic, exciting NFT that has been through a few bumps in the road in terms of authenticity and also trust. So they're going to be telling their story. You're going to learn a hell of a lot, and this is going to be a really exciting and informative video for you. So please do like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click that all important bell. If you've got any questions, I'm at Nifty World on Twitter as well. But for now, let's dive right in. Okay, so I'm going to have a huge welcome here for, well, you might recognize them, particularly via Twitter, but you might not know them in person. We've got NFT Ignition, aka Danielle, and also I am bored Becky, who is also Ashley, which confuses me like you wouldn't believe, but there we go. But these lovely ladies are the team behind the Fame Lady Squad, something that I've been watching for a while now. I've seen that they have kind of changed hands. It's all been a little bit up in the air, and then these ladies have come on board and sort of set this on its route to the moon. And I am so excited to be able to talk to you ladies today, because the topic of what we are discussing is about building authenticity and trust around your NFT. And you know, you guys have been on a hell of a journey because of obviously what's happened. So we're going to go a little bit back to the beginning. And for anyone that doesn't know about the Fame Lady Squad, I'd love you to kind of tell us where it started, when you guys got into the community of the Fame Lady Squad, and then we'll move on to what happened. But it would be good to know kind of what excited you guys about this project in the first place.
Sure. I mean, we can give a very short version of a summary of what transpired. So in July, Fame Lady Squad was launched by another team, a team who positioned themselves to be an all-female team, female developer, marketer, artist. And it was indeed the first all-female avatar PFP NFT project. So that's what really excited me as a buyer, a collector. And I know Danielle will probably have some things to say about that too. But it was just much needed in this space. I'm sure many of you, if you've spent any time in crypto or NFT land, it's very male dominated. And I think we're all looking for some diversity in the space, not just of gender, but beyond that. But it was still nice to see something come out that felt like, oh, this is something that I can buy into, that I can feel like represents me, and I can get into the ethos of really being a very female-led, female empowerment type of project. Yeah. Anyways, needless to say, fast forward some weeks, maybe it was, I don't even think it was a full month. It turns out that the team are actually Russian men who have been working on a bunch of projects, kind of and in some cases exploiting this desire for diversity. So it was very disappointing, very disheartening. Many people felt very violated. Just for some context, this was a lot of people's first NFT. This was an NFT that many people who maybe had been in this space for a little while bought for their girlfriends, their wives, their daughters. And so it was something that a lot of people were very excited about and hung on to. And then it all just kind of fell apart. Yeah. And so someone had done some sleuthing, found out that these guys had misrepresented themselves. There was a lot of drama on Twitter, etc. And it all kind of came crumbling down. Prices, and that will show you how, you know, belief in something and then losing trust can just very quickly kind of put something into the ashes. So, and we've seen stuff happen where maybe it wasn't that extreme, but sentiment and attitude in the space matters a lot. Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a lot more we could get into behind that, but at the end of the day, Danielle and myself and one other ended up becoming the owners of the smart contract. We took over the leadership of the project. We ended up building a space for the community to get together and now we're here. So it's been a
Yeah.
six weeks since all of this
Is
happened.
that
And
it? Is that it?
yeah,
Is it just 6 weeks?
it's crazy. So yesterday was 6 weeks to the day of the everything coming out.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, it's flown by in so many ways because we've been so busy, but it also feels like an eternity in NFT land. But we can dig a little deeper into all that. But that's really the backstory.
That's a good summary. That's a really good summary.
And the one thing for anyone who's not familiar, it's a collection of 8,888 all female avatars, and they're badass, and the art is very cool. Yeah, Danielle's got one of our zombie ladies
on my shirt.
Yeah, you can tell someone's representing, I think.
Yes, I know. I really need to work on this over here. But each individual NFT holder owns the commercial rights and the IP to their art. We think it's very versatile and fun and like lots of opportunity. So we just couldn't let it die. Yeah. We loved it too much. And I mean, Danielle can maybe speak a little bit to how much, we loved it. She loved it, how much she saw it meant to people in the community.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It wasn't even the art that I think people were so attached to. It was the community that had already been built. Yeah. And just how supportive that community was. Like, everybody needs a safe place in crypto to be able to go and ask questions, especially with how scary things are. Like, you can't tweet, hey, I have a problem with my MetaMask. You get 1,000 people trying to scam you in your DMs, like stuff like that. So people that are new to the space just want to have that place that they can go in and ask questions and get legit answers. And it just had this vibe that, I was spending all my time in there.
Because let me just understand, I suppose, your backstory. So before, obviously, the controversy, and we'll get on to a little bit more of deep diving that in a minute. This only happened since July. We're in like mid to late September now. So this is all like, even from its inception, it's all very quick. And, they say like a day is like a week is like a month in the NFT space, and so on and so forth. And things can move really, really quickly. So for you ladies, were you in crypto before? Did you both start off as collectors before you came into this community? Because you got to feel pretty passionate to not just go, oh, that's a shame, this thing kind of fell by the wayside and didn't really work out, to then kind of go, you know what, I'm going to put my cape on, turn into Superwoman and save the day, right?
Well, I've been in the NFT space for about a year now. And usually I work in the marketing side of things on projects, but I did a lot of consulting and like mentoring of artists. Like, I've helped a lot of new artists enter the space. I actually had been working on another project for a while when this all happened, and was like, oh my God, I don't have time for that. But it was like, I couldn't not do it. Like, I just felt that, like, I was laying in bed, sick to my stomach, thinking about the people who were like, this is my first NFT. And like, I just kept thinking about them. I was like, they're never going to buy an NFT again. Like, this is going to ruin their whole experience. This is going to, like, I was seriously thinking that we were going to start the bear market. Like, I was like, this is so bad. Like, what, we have to fix this.
Because it goes beyond like the couple of $100 that someone might have lost, right? This is the thing about like authenticity and community around an NFT. It starts with the image because you like it, and then you buy into the community, and then you get involved in that community, and then you become essentially evangelical about that community. And that's why when something like this crumbles, it's got such a catastrophic effect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for you guys to want to come in and save this is did you guys know each other before? I mean, have you ever met other than digitally?
Not yet, but we will be soon. We're very excited because we're going to be sponsoring I always get the acronym wrong. NYC. I always say it backwards. NFT NYC. So we're meeting in New York. But no, we did not know one another. I knew of Danielle as NFT Ignition. She's, as she said, she's an OG in this space, having been in a year, and she's been in much longer than myself. So I had seen her in the community. I had seen her on Twitter. I was following her. I was like, very excited to see a woman in the space who was clearly a woman and was engaged and knew what she was doing and that sort of a thing. So I'm quite a noob. We can talk about that, but really, when all of this happened, it was sort of kismet, a lot of luck, I have to say, just the way everything happened. When everything fell apart, I started a Discord channel just in case the other one that belonged to the Fame Lady Squad community disappeared. And I just wanted a more calmer space where we could connect, and also with the fear of that maybe disappearing. And with that happening, that's how I got connected with Data, who's a guy. And he just helped me set up the Discord because that was beyond me. And he said, we really need to bring in NFT Ignition. I was like, amazing, this is perfect. And then that was before we even became owners of the smart contract for this project. At that point, we were just trying to see, is there anything we can do to like help support this community? Can we put our brains together and come up with something to make everyone feel a little less about everything that's happened? And that's how it all kind of started. So I was very excited to meet Danielle and have her expertise and her know-how and her, she's a lot more intimately familiar with how this space works and with the contacts, right? Like this space is still so new. You kind of need to know who to reach out to if you have problems with your, you need a developer, you need someone who understands the smart contracts, you need artists who understand how to do things that so anyways, that's it. We got lucky. I hope they feel the same way.
It's so interesting because this space is so new. Like even me being in it for about 3 or 4 months, right, and dabbling into it, there's like, if you were to say to me, like, how do I deal with the smart contract, let alone how do I negotiate a smart contract to make sure I can get it, take it away from these people and give it some rebirth, wouldn't know where to start. But what I have found from the NFT space is that everyone is incredibly generous. And I hope that kind of continues on, particularly, I mean, I do find that particularly within the female community, because we are still very small in this, we're sort of getting our heads above water a little bit, getting a bit more exposure, but it's very male dominated. And I get that. And in some respects, not to give them any sort of, in any way sort of kudos, but I understand in a way why a bunch of guys were like, hey, there isn't any females in this space, let's set up something. Like they just never thought they'd get found out. How were they found out? How did all this come about that it suddenly became apparent that they were men?
I think
go ahead.
I think the key thing was people recognized that these variety of projects were all connected. And weren't necessarily independently managed. And so I think that's what started it. And there was just a lot of suspicion around that, especially the types of projects that were being released. It looked like there was someone taking advantage of that need for diversity. So and then I guess, I don't know, Danielle, if you can go beyond that.
I just wonder if there was a moment where they were like outed, like
well sort of. But everybody listening was like, I don't know about this, it seems really flimsy. Like that's what I was thinking. But again, I didn't want it to be true. Like at the time I owned like 30 of them. I was like, oh my god, that can't be true, that's impossible. Like and their evidence wasn't enough to be like, oh, that's what it is. The one thing that, as she said, it was a bunch of projects that they were talking about. Queenship was launching that day, and that was the one that really brought attention to all of this because it was just basically a straight scam. You went to OpenSea to buy your NFTs, and they were supposed to be like a bundle of 10, but when people purchased them, they only got one NFT, and they were all the same images. And not a lot of people had minted it, but enough that people were figuring out that something was wrong. And then they started looking back and associating other projects that had a similar like ethos and roadmap and structure of their website. And then the one piece of evidence that they really had was, oh, this person promoted this project before anybody else knew it existed. And I was like, that's not enough.
I think
that doesn't convince me.
there were other things. I mean, and this can go to what I think we want to chat a bit about today, but like, well, first of all, we should say the team eventually came out and said, you're right. We're not who we said we are. We're men. And I think they're trying to rebuild their sort of reputation, because they obviously
gone right straight away.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, but up until this point, you know, the team was, felt disconnected from the community, disconnected from the project, and more so in a way was like, maybe they seemed busy, like they weren't responsive. They weren't maybe taking the time to understand the community's thoughts, concerns, ideas. Certainly, I think that it became apparent that this project was a lot more successful maybe than they had anticipated. And I don't think they had anticipated nurturing it. And so meanwhile, while they're off doing, now we know, working on other things, they just were not there. And there were some really amazing people in the community who were really trying to be involved. I mean, Danielle's one of these people, a number of the mods, and who were trying to field questions and get answers from the community, but weren't able to connect. And there was a desire to, you know, just let's have a chat, let's have an AMA, let's have a voice connect with these folks. And there was resistance for obvious reasons now. And that's when all of this was kind of unfolding. It was like, okay, this is starting to make sense, starting to come together. But they would always kind of come back, and they did. The thing is, they did follow through with a lot of the things. So I think they were like just trying, and it was a management issue. It was just too much. But we kind of saw through the first few weeks, like for me as a collector, where this was the first time I had really bought in any sort of like quantity of NFTs from a project at Mint. I was kind of watching, hearing the tone, hearing like what people were saying. And there were all these moments where you could feel that discomfort from the community, and you could say, oh shit, like, where is this going? How's this, you know, where is this going to lead? Because I felt pretty invested too. And I also just was very optimistic. Like I really saw the potential in this project. And so, you know, I would kind of get in there and try and engage, and you know, you'd have your little moments of up, and then it just would kind of come down. And anyways,
and it feels really personal to you guys, right? Like this became really personal.
It feels very personal, but I think going through that really helped. I mean, for me, and I know Danielle's seen it before, but like how important being involved with that community, really how much it matters in a project like this, like a collection project, is you have to be present. You have to be hearing what people are saying. You have to be addressing their questions. Like it's a new space, so people are scared. You kind of have to get through that period of time where there's a lot of speculation, a lot of flippers who buy, and they're just there because they want to make some money, and then they're gone, right? And so as soon as they're feeling trouble, they get very uneasy. And now I think where Fame Lady Squad is at with the new ownership team is we've gotten, I think, a lot of trust from the community, a lot of buy-in. We've done a lot of communication with them. We've asked for a lot of their direction on our strategy. We've probably asked for a lot of patience from them because we've come into this project with few resources, like no money, and you know, we have to rebuild, right? And so I think we're in a unique situation with our community where most of the main people, at least the visible people who are holders, who are invested, they want to see this work, and they're kind of in it now. I think there's a lot of loyalty that's being built, which is why I feel so excited about the project. And while there's a bunch of noise in the NFT space, right? There's so many projects, there's a lot of options. We're at a very entry level price point right now, so people could go wherever they want, right? And I think a lot of people now feel very, very invested in not just the project as a financial investment, but the community at large and like wanting to see this be the thing that they thought it was going to be.
The first time, right?
Yeah, it feels very emotional.
Yeah. So let me just go back a little bit to when you guys went, right, we're going to do this, we're going to take this over. Was it easy to get hold of the smart contract, or did the guys behind the original project, were they like, actually, we think if we could rebuild this, we could make a lot of money, or whatever? We
had nothing to do with any of that. So our chick had just DM'd us and then had a group conversation with everybody. Like, she messaged me, she's like, I'm so sorry to bring you into this. And then I saw a group conversation with everybody else. And she's like, I'm getting you guys the smart contract. There's a vote on Twitter right now to see if they're going to give it to us. And what address should we send it to? And just like it, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Art Chick's like probably the most prominent female figure in the NFT space online. So she's very influential. She's a little controversial. Yep. She can be a little aggressive, right? And which really worked out.
It worked, right?
She takes no prisoners, and I like it. Like,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So she publicly demanded it from them, and they did. They cooperated, and they were, we obviously don't know these guys behind the scene, but we have had communication with them since, and we want to acknowledge they followed through with the things they said they were going to do. They signed us, made us owners, of the smart contracts for this and the secondary drop that they had done for the project, which was crowns. They sent us the domain ownership of the domain name. They sent us all the art files. So, I don't think they were happy about everything that happened, but I think they tried their best within just to do what they can.
There was no way they would be able to salvage that after Archie had called.
No.
So
no,
exactly. So okay, so you guys have the smart contract, and then you're like, right, now what?
Right, because we weren't expecting to even get it in the first place.
Yeah. So you must have gone, what do we do? How do we rebuild this? You mentioned about setting up another Discord. Was it easy to try and, to migrate people over to that? Or did you stick with that? Or were they staying there? And were people open to having you build this? Or were they like, you know what, it's dead in the water, I'm going to move on? What was the kind of sentiment that you had to
We had very few people suggesting that the project should be abandoned. I think twice I was told that, and everybody else, and maybe it was more of a save my bags type of attitude, but everybody was so supportive from the beginning. Like, the second we got that contract, people were flooding into the Discord. We did use the new one, and we got a hold of the old one, but since we had already asked everybody to join the new one, we didn't want to move them back and forth. So we do still have ownership of that, but it's not being used.
Yeah. Okay. And
we thought it was.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Felt it was important to kind of reframe things a little bit too. Yeah. We didn't need that old. There was a lot of toxicity from the last couple of days in the old one. This was kind of a rebirth. At the time, we didn't know what was going on. We kind of started this, so we had given it a new name temporarily, Project Phoenix, which is, now switched over back to Fame Lady Squad. So there was some confusion. I think there was some confusion at the time what was really happening, but I think people, if they were entering the new space, it was kind of a sign, we're here to be a part of a new beginning and leaving the old stuff kind of behind us.
Yeah. And I suppose for those people who were probably driving any sort of toxicity, that you would have said to them, look, if you guys don't want to join, don't join, right? It's up to you. Either come or
there was a surprise. There wasn't a lot of that, which was really surprising, right. Probably. Actually, in hindsight. Yeah.
That, because I think that's the thing, right? Because you're taking something which we've seen a few drops of late, right, where the hype machine. So I'm a big believer that a slow burning mint and a build up from that is probably a safer bet for a lot of people, because if you're doing a hype drop, right, if something goes wrong, we've seen it with the sevens, and I think this happened with Galaxy Eggs, is a big conglomerate will buy a bot who comes in and then buys 1,000+ of your NFTs and your drops, and the trust goes down, right? So then they've got to rebuild that back up again. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So for you guys, like, I think it's an uphill climb, right? To get that across. And you can, I think it's very lucky. And I say this with the best intentions, is that it is really lucky that you had such little toxicity from and resistance from people, because they literally could have gone, you know what, I bite the bullet, it isn't going to go anywhere, this is done. And with so many other projects in the market, you know, and this is part of the problem as well, is that what the biggest problem for NFTs is now is to show people that you have a long-term vision, you are loyal, you're going to be there, you're going to, you know, you're going to be with them for not just this year, not just this drop, but, you know, 5-10 years from now. And you are having to reverse engineer that with the Fame Lady Squad, because all of that was false, right? So is there anything you learned from that first week? I'm talking like, you know, I was going to say the first few days, because it has only been 6 weeks, but like those first few moments where you're going, actually, we shouldn't do it this way. We need to kind of, you know, we're having to test the water with lots of different things to get it right. Like, what was working well for you? What didn't quite work well for you?
You know, I think there was the juggle of like trying to make people happy who had some people had very diverging interests, like different things. And like, we recognize that, you know, we're not going to be able to make everybody 100% happy from day one. But we do need to include the community. We need to find the balance between leadership and trying to create a direction so that way things actually happen. And then also bring in the community and make sure they're really involved with, you know, what we're looking at in terms of next steps. So I think what we found was we had to collect ourselves, understand where the community thought the project was going to be going, where, you know, what are the underlying values, and then figure out what can we do, recognizing our resources are limited, and how do we make sure that the community understands that, because we, you know, and I'm not necessarily speaking about our community generally, but you know, you spend any time in a project, a Discord, you see how quickly people have expectations of like, what's next? What's next? Next? Yeah. And it's like, have you ever run a business? Like, this isn't the way it works. Right? Like, it's just, you need people, you need time, you need money. Like, and it's, you know, you don't have people working 24/7. Like these are small teams generally, right? That are behind the scenes of these things. So having seen really great big projects with really good success stories still have that kind of every once in a while people wanting what's next, I realized, you know what, we just have to work within reality. And yeah, so, and for people who don't know, like when these big projects launch, these collectible projects drop, there's a huge sum of money that's made in the initial sell-off, right? So in our case, our understanding is the project made about $1.5 million in the original sale. That's $1.5 million we do not have to invest in the future of this project. So we had to explain to our community, you know, the royalties at the time were quite low, 2.5%. We asked them, well, actually they asked us to raise the royalties to 5%. Yeah. So we had planted some seeds and let them know that the financial situation was difficult. We're all volunteers right now. We want to empower women. We want to bring more women into the team. And as contractors, we can't ask them to work for free. They're already underpaid, right? Yeah. And so
we're creating a creator's economy, right? Like
we want to support the people who are going to bring value to this project. And so we had thought about when we might ask to increase royalties, and really the question was going to be, when have we proven ourselves as a team? When have we shown that they can trust us to do that? And the community actually started demanding it, started publicly asking for us to raise royalties. So we felt empowered by that, and we felt very encouraged by the community, and they obviously see a longer term vision, as do we, and so we did a vote to be able to increase royalties, and it was like you know, obviously not everyone participates, but it was something like 400 to 4, something like that in terms of the increase. So we had that support. But anyway, so to your original question, what was the hardest part? Just trying to unpack, like, what do we want to do? What can we do? How can we try to make as many people happy as possible? So have them participate in the decision. So we gave for our original roadmap, and we hope to have like a roadmap 2.0. Like we plan to get there to the next steps. But for now, like what's feasible, what can happen, and so we gave them a few options. They decided, and so we're working on it. So we're pretty excited, but it just it took a little time to figure out the balance, I think, to get there. Yeah.
And it sounds like one of the biggest things that you guys have done is be transparent, right? Because that's what obviously this project fell on its knees by, is the lack of transparency. So that, you know, that in terms of building trust, I think in this space, you know, even by you ladies being on this video, showing your faces, there's so much anonymity in the world of NFTs that actually I think building trust is this is a great way of you doing that. Like, you know, people will see the people behind the project, and you don't always get that. Number one, I think that's great. Number two, that actually just stood out to me in what you were just saying, is that all of this happened in August, right? Now, why is that significant? That is significant because August is the month that everything in NFTs went like through the roof, right? So no, I can understand why everyone's like, I want it now, is because everyone's suddenly getting into NFTs, and you guys must have been like, my head can't comprehend. I mean, Danielle, you're such an OG in this space, right? So tell me, as someone who's more established, more understanding, more technical in this space, with that pressure and demand, how did you cope through all that, and how did you kind of get through it? Because now we're in September, so you can take a breath.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely different having people sitting there from day one when you don't even have a roadmap ready, asking what's next. Like normally you build that the other way around. So this was the complete opposite of what I was used to. It was very stressful. I think honestly, the part that weighed on me a lot in the beginning was we found out that like one of our tattoos was controversial. And this was like within an hour of us getting the contract. Then we found out like, okay, here's a list of more problems that people have with the project that we had never heard about before, including a tattoo having like some racist meanings. And it was just like, you know, and we've, you know, come up with the solution to that, obviously, and whatnot. But yeah, I think that was probably the thing that was like bothering me the most at the beginning, because I thought I knew exactly what I was getting myself into, and then, you know, 2 hours later, it's like, no, here's a list of all the other problems that we have to add on top of that.
Yeah, and just for clarity, you guys have day jobs as well, right? Is that right?
I do not.
You do
I am
not.
full-time crypto. I am working on another project that I've been working on since June, and I do some advising in the space.
Yeah.
But I'm full-time crypto.
Okay. And how about you, Ashley?
I'm a realtor in Vancouver, and it's been a very busy market. So I've definitely neglected my business over the last 6 weeks. My partner's also in the business, so he's had to carry the weight for me. I'm involved in like, I sit on boards, so I have like board and committee meetings and all of that. And those are probably the things I've made sure I still prioritize, but everything else has kind of been, I feel generally it's been 80% Fame Lady Squad over the last 6 weeks. And I think when we first took this on, we didn't know what it was going to mean. And I certainly didn't expect this outcome, although it's been a wild ride and one that I'm very happy to be on. It's just been a little bit of explaining to people in my life who rely on me, but we're figuring it all out. And the thing that's really neat, you know, I mentioned I'm involved in boards, and one of the things that we've been talking about is just like how blockchain's going to get into all aspects of our lives. In real estate, it's one of them. So I've just had such an interest in seeing how this technology plays out and how, you know, businesses and people and entrepreneurs start getting innovative with it. So that's what piqued my interest to get involved in NFTs at all. And there's no other way to learn. Like, you're not going to be able to take a course, go to college, university, and learn about this, you know, incoming, emerging space that goes well beyond avatar projects, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is me. I'm a student and I'm learning and along the way, because that's the only way. And that's, I kind of say that out loud because we're going to be talking hopefully to more and more women as we move forward. And I think so many of us are nervous to enter a space we don't understand. But guess what? Nobody does until they get their feet wet, right? So I actually think that this crazy time where I've probably compromise some of my regular income it's a time I'm going to look back on and be like, man, that was what an opportunity to have learned about something, been early, and hopefully build a foundation of something that's going to be really important to me and hopefully meaningful in terms of the project in the future. So anyway, these are the things I think we're all like thinking about and justifying.
Don't worry, you're not alone. You're not alone, because actually since I've set up my channel and I've kind of transferred my skills over into this, like 80%, I was like, you're slacking, Ashley. I'm in this like
80% is the number I have to say out loud. So if any clients of mine in real life are seeing this, they're like, oh, at least there's still 20. But I don't know.
Yeah. But it's very immersive, like for all of us, I think. And actually what I quickly want to talk about is actually being a woman in this space right now, right? We are very early in this space, you know, not as early as you, Danielle. You are, I'm going to look to you for loads of advice moving forward. You are the OG.
Yeah, go for it.
But you know, this is an exciting time for women in this space. Like, obviously you represent an empowering female brand. We're going to talk about your long-term vision in just a second for that and what's coming up. But how does it feel? How have you navigated around this space? And like, I'm excited to be a woman actively speaking and consulting and broadcasting within this space, because I feel like we supporting each other all have a really clever bit of skin in the game already because it's so early. So do you feel empowered or overwhelmed or excited? What's the sentiment for you, ladies?
Well, for me, I really was just one of the bros up until this project. I was like, you know, I never thought of like pushing my own path to create more space for women in the NFT space. But now that I got started on it, it makes so much sense. And like, I'm so glad to be doing it. And I've had so many women reach out to me, and since it's just nice to have other women to talk to in this space.
Yeah,
like, it's been great.
Yeah. And how about you, Ashley?
I mean, I still feel very new. Like, I know Danielle has said that, you know, up until like before Fame Lady Squad, she was being interviewed and people would always ask her about being a woman in this space. And like, she's like, that's not why I'm here. Like, whatever. and I just haven't had that. This is my experience. I mean, even as a collector, I feel as a, you know, a bit of a unicorn, right? Like, and that's why when I bought my ape, when I did early on, thank goodness, I really wanted to get a female ape. I'm like, if I'm going to have an ape avatar, I want to rep the women and just like, and I want to be the woman behind that ape, right? And just have that little, you know, nod to women getting into this space, because I'm in real estate. I believe like that's where I'm comfortable and what I'm familiar with in terms of investing and feeling comfortable about putting money. I've never been into stock investing or anything of that nature. So it's always been quite overwhelming. And for some reason, this really resonated with me. But I just think women generally get nervous about exploring these types of things, and risk isn't for everybody. But I do think that it'd be nice for some of the wealth transfer to be happening, you know, with women, and for them to at least feel comfortable enough to dabble comfortably. And obviously this isn't just about financial investment, but for them to get in and understand, like feel comfortable to understand. And so I'm just really excited to hopefully have Fame Lady Squad be a launching pad, a platform. We're starting a podcast, and we're going to really be focusing on women in the space. So we're hoping to be at least a conduit, a channel, a safe. I hate using the word safe space, but the most of the crypto comfortable space, like that's you're a unicorn here, right? Like most of the, when I listen to podcasts about NFTs, it's all very bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay. Like it's nothing wrong with that. But if that's all, like, not many people are not going to force themselves to listen to that if they're not into that style. Right.
Yeah.
And so I just think that it's needed. It's for equal opportunity, you know,
absolutely.
To have a, yeah.
And I think that, and we'll talk a little bit about your podcast in just a moment, and also your other projects that you're wanting to focus on. But I think it's so funny because since I've sort of learned more about you guys and your NFTs, like my focus just naturally has been on the rise of the female NFT. So I've got some, you know, cool lady clubs, I've got some sad girls bars, you know, there's things like that. And I'm like, actually, I'm buying into what I think is a movement that is gonna have its moment very, very soon. And I've got to keep remembering that and knowing that, you know, what you're investing in is not just what some people call just a JPEG. It's not, it's so much more than that. And you guys just prove that. And that's the authentic NFT that you're after, is a brand that you can believe in, that you can feel comfortable in. And it seems like, you know, within your Discord, it's a very safe space. People are very open and very giving, which is fantastic to hear. And that's a massive part of building that trust. But also it's about the longevity. And you've already talked about the podcast, and that's just one of the many things that you guys are looking to build on as this vision grows. So what are the kind of long-term goals now that you've kind of settled in to your new roles? What's the long-term goals you're setting for yourselves?
So, you know, our roadmap still has some empty spots on it. We do have categories of things that we want to do long-term for the project. One thing is just community building, things that we can do to, like, maybe some classes to teach people how to play with their ladies in Photoshop, or things that can help people just within the community and growing the community. Female empowerment, obviously, you know, is a really big important bucket that we need to fill. And then the long-term utility, which we have a couple things so far in that bucket, but we you know, that's a long-term one that we're going to be working on. One of those things that we have implemented already is the ladies only section on the website, which you have to link your wallet and have a lady to be able to access a bunch of charts and data and stuff that we've put up there for people to use to learn about it.
Yeah, fantastic. And the podcast. So let me just understand this. What are you going to focus on in this podcast? What can we expect from that? Because it's coming soon, right?
It's coming. We're really excited. We actually have meetings lined up this week to really start building the foundation for the podcast. So it's on the roadmap. We haven't even updated our community yet. That, like, this is officially a work in progress. And we are working on finalizing a launch date, which will be later this fall, probably in line with NFT NYC. So we're very excited about that. And yeah, so right now I think we're just making sure we understand, you know, what the brand is really going to look like of this podcast. We are partnering with somebody who's helping us properly launch this, really work on the distribution, and look eventually to monetize it as well. And we're just going to say that out loud because that's going to help this project. Mm-hmm. But beyond all that, like, the purpose is to create a space where we can speak to people in the space coming from, like, a female perspective. Danielle and I are going to be hosting this show, and, you know, look at what are people doing? How are people innovating? We really want to explore how to not only help onboard people, but how to help people start thinking about smart contracts and how they can integrate them into their businesses and get creative and create value for their clients, customers, etc. How help them understand how to build community and how that matters. And obviously there's not going to be a one size fits all, like, it's really going to depend, but we really want to dig deep and help our community also as an audience kind of spark some of their curiosity, spark some of their creativity too, so they can start thinking about, you know, how they might be able to use NFTs in their lives and their businesses too. But also, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for us to bring in the community to the podcast as well. So, you know, depending on what the theme of the day is, but there's going to be an opportunity for us to help be a platform for some of them. We have a very talented community. We have a lot of artists in our community. So we're also building out our social media presence, and that's going to be a priority as we move forward. So that way we can also promote them and support some of the works that they're doing, for example. So amazing. A lot of things kind of on the go.
That's so exciting. I know the community is going to be so excited to hear you talk about that. It's going to be brilliant. And Danielle, I know you are a very busy lady. You have lots of things in the pipeline. You have other projects as well. I mean, tell us about some of those.
Yeah. So the one that I just recently announced is Monsters Bash. I've been working on that for a few months, and you know, beyond excited really to release this to the public. So it's the first one where it's like my project. You know, I have a team of people that I'm working with, obviously, but I've been there since day one. I've been the one helping plan, and it means a lot to me, you know.
It looks amazing. It's like old school Universal monster, you know,
and
movies.
The art is actually going to be gifts. So they're going to be generative gifts. It's going to be a human that transforms into a monster.
Oh, amazing.
So so I think for Halloween it's perfect. But on top of that, like, our utility is going to be amazing. So there's daily 1v1 tournaments. So it's a Swiss style tournament, which basically means that you don't get eliminated if you lose, but you play against not everybody, but a lot of people. And then at the end, everybody's points get added up. And then the top 65 people every day will get awarded tokens, our own tokens that we're going to create. So it will be a form of passive income for people depending on how they place in the tournaments.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to have some really interesting breeding functions. So it's summoning. So it'll take 2 to 5 monsters to summon a new monster, and you can follow certain spells to get certain types of monsters and certain types of rarity. There's achievements that you unlock, and then you get different spells sent to you once you've unlocked certain achievements. I'm super excited. I've always been deep into gaming and NFT.
It's amazing. And so I applaud you. I can't wait to follow that and see how that grows.
Yeah, and there is a benefit to the ladies, actually. So on our roadmap, we have the first community to community donation that we're going to do. So with the fundraising, and it's, I think at 50%, we're going to donate 10 ETH to the FLS team wallet. And then in addition to that, we're going to have it so only FLS holders can participate in the pre-sale for Monsters. So we'll sell 2,000 of them on that first day. You know, if the money's going back to the community, I'm not sure how it's going to be used yet, but we might as well let those people be the ones buying it so they can support the community that the money is going to. So I just figured, you know, I started to feel bad that I was working on 2 projects at once. I was like, how can I help these projects help each other? And we have also talked about like whitelisting the ladies for the tournament. So maybe that's something that can be done down the road, but
well, you heard it here first, if that's going to happen. So that's my little exclusive. And ladies, I'm gonna wrap this up because I could talk to you for days, right, about this. It's so fascinating and it's so great to speak to you. But I suppose the last question that I have for you is for anyone who is stepping into this space, who is wanting to create an NFT, wanting to build their brand as an artist, as a brand in itself within the NFT space, to build that trust and authenticity. What advice from your learnings over the last 6 weeks, what advice would you give them?
I would say get to know the community, get to know the people before you even mint. Get out there, get immersed in some Discords, find a project that has a similar style, and then you'll know that the people in the Discord will have similar taste in art. You know, try to just get to know as many people as you can before even worrying about the minting process.
Yeah. I think participating in the ecosystem matters. So you kind of can understand the nuances a little bit. And if you're already there, I do think preparing yourself to be pretty engaged in Discord assuming you're going to build one for your project, and Twitter. And you know, I think the balance is figuring out how do you manage it in a sustainable way, but also make sure that there's like a real voice behind whatever it is that you're doing. That's two-way voice, rather like a conversation versus broadcasting, you know. I think that matters a lot. And what I'm learning with Fame Lady Squad is really thinking about those, like the, you know, the 1,000 true fan concept, like really keep the family, like focus on the people who are there. And you know, I think a lot of us are always looking for that next big, like we want to bring on and build the community, but you gotta really focus on those people who are there for you from the beginning too. So
amazing. Look, ladies, I wish you every success. You've picked up a project and you've done so well with it so far. I can't wait to see where it goes to. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you for having us.
Well, there you have it. What an amazing journey the ladies behind the Fame Lady Squad have had, and it has not been easy, but they have come out thriving, and that NFT, whew, I'm pretty sure is going to the moon. So thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you to the ladies from the Fame Lady Squad as well. If you like this video, then obviously like the video. Don't forget to leave me a comment in the thread. Subscribe to this channel, super important. And of course, don't forget to hit that all important bell as well, so you don't miss a beat when a new video drops. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.